Welcome to Scrunchy Time. I'm Nicole Hegsted, your fertility advocate. After 6 years of infertility and 3 miscarriages, I decided that I needed to become the advocate for my own body. If you're exhausted from struggling to get pregnant and want to know more about how I can help, check out my website at www.nicolehegsted.com.
And I'm Bridget May, your children's health expert. My son was born with a heart condition that led to 3 open heart surgeries, cath labs, a tracheostomy, and a ventilator. After being fed up with mixed opinions, I became my children's own advocate. If your child's health is lacking, then check out my website at www.bridgetmay.com to find out more how I can help. Put your hair up and pay attention while we discuss today's hottest topics concerning female hormones and healthy kiddos.
We aren't silky.
We aren't crunchy. We're scrunchy. Hi, and welcome back to Scrunchy Time. So today we really want to discuss a topic Nicole and I are probably going to get really riled up about, so be prepared. But we really want to talk about bad diets today. So there's just obviously a ton of diets out there, and popular ones and ones that are hanging on and all of that. So we're going to bring up a few and address some stuff, but we really want to, the thing we want to drive home the most about all of this is our mindset around dieting. It's horrible. It's a very bad thing. So and I think that's the worst thing. If you've worked with either Nicole or I in any of this, or taken some of our recommendations or seen something on our posts, we will tell you to cut this out or do this or add that, which sounds like a diet plan. But really, the mindset around diets, though, is so negative and lifelong lasting and restrictive and self-deprecating, even in a lot of ways, I would say. It really is very harmful, and especially long-term. High restrictions long-term are really bad. And then also, the nutrition aspect of it. A lot of diets tell you to cut out things that you shouldn't be cutting out. And so yeah, we really just want to cover all those topics and specifically some issues with some more popular diets, and really just help you get into the proper mindset to make lifelong nutrition choices that are going to last forever, and not just for the 2 weeks into the new year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So being raised in a family that actually struggled with weight, still struggles with weight. I still have issues in that area. I remember leaving home and actually thinking that salads were for diets. I remember thinking that you didn't eat a salad unless you were on a diet, because the only time that my family ever had salad in our house was specifically when we were on a diet. And that's not to say we didn't have other fruits and vegetables. My mom actually was surprisingly healthy in some areas and surprisingly not healthy in other areas. She was a lot of misunderstanding and miseducation from the 90s, because the 90s did a huge number on our concept of what is food. And so we ate a lot of broccoli, actually. We ate a lot of really good vegetables. I was raised on Brussels sprouts. I'm one of the only adults today that can eat beets and Brussels sprouts because I was raised on it. And people complain to me all the time about how beets taste like dirt. And I'm like, it's yummy dirt. So, I was raised on a lot of good vegetables, but we were not raised on salad for some reason. It was a weird thing. And so I can't help but think that a lot of people from my age down probably have the same opinion, because we think of a meal today and we think of a McDonald's meal or a steak, or, if any vegetables included, it's probably a baked potato. It's very rare that we talk about, a meal and we think, oh, I'm going to go eat a bowl of spinach. And I mean, I do that now. That is literally a meal for me sometimes. It's just a bowl of spinach and it fills me up and I'm happy with that, So it's really important, as you were saying, Bridget, that the mindset behind diets is what I think is the most damaging part. And we're going to talk more about individual diets in a little bit and the individual problems with those. But I think on the whole, the mindset that the concept of a diet creates is that okay, I need to lose weight. And so I'm going to do this really restrictive thing, like you said, for 2 weeks, and hopefully drop 25 pounds in 2 weeks. And then I can do whatever I want again, And I remember actually thinking that as a teenager, that was normal, that was how you maintained your weight. I didn't know how skinny people did it. Come to find out they were eating whatever they wanted to too. And it was just genetics. So there's that.
Yeah. And she's like, what?
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think the diet mindset is the biggest issue. So yeah, so I
do with a diet, like I was just going to add into that. We've talked about the restrictions and stuff, but then there's the guilt too of when we go to our grandma's house and she's made homemade bread, and we either say no and it causes issues, or we say yes and we complain the whole time we're eating it.
mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I eating this, like blah blah blah, and it's like you're not enjoying it either.
Mm-hmm.
Like huge issues around that mentally, and all of that too. So yeah,
Yes.
like, gonna eat the cake, eat the cake.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Even if you're on a diet, like even if you're like, nope, I'm going to do this diet and I'm going to stick to it and whatever. Well, then when you decide to have cheat night, don't feel guilty about cheat night, because yes, I have done that as well. And I've even had diets where there was cheat night built in and still felt guilty all during cheat night, and then hated myself all week because I didn't enjoy cheat night. It's just this endless circle of pain and misery. I hate dieting. Like yeah. It wasn't very long after I moved out of my parents' house where I was like, well, okay, I'll just be fat forever, because like I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life.
Well, in our world, like food, especially like German background, like food is comfort. Like food is my go-to. If I'm stressed, you know it. Like I all the time. And so then to take that away from us and it be a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's not so. And also our bodies use what we choose. Like if we're sitting there eating this salad and complaining about it, our body's not going to use it to its full potential.
Right.
We need to be enjoying it and being like, yes, my body's going to use this. It's going to be amazing. All those kind of things. Mind, body, it works together. And so you can also be sitting there complaining and all of that. Your body picks up on that and does accordingly. So
I'll even take that a step further, that if you're on cheat night and let's say you've been eating healthy and you decide to eat the piece of cake and you're sitting there feeling guilty the entire time, what is that doing to your digestive process to be able to handle eating the horrible piece of cake? So rather, if you're sitting there going, this is amazing and this is delicious and this is only happening tonight and I'm going to enjoy every moment of it, and body, I know you can handle this. Let's do this together. And tomorrow I'll drink a bunch of kombucha and make you happy again. I see your body being able to handle that a lot better than the other way around. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So, and take what nutrients it can out of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep passing it through as fast as it can.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yep.
So the first diet I think I'll bring up, this one was like the first thing that I realized was a problem was the fat-free diet from the 90s. That was the first one that I was like, okay, there's a major issue here, because fat is a naturally occurring thing in things like butter and cheese and animal protein, avocados, stuff like that. Sorry, say that again.
No, I just said avocados at the same time.
For some reason with this recording, when I'm talking, if you start to talk, it's not letting you through. So,
oh, okay.
I don't know why it's doing that today. It never does that. But
we have bad weather here. That might be why. It's cloudy and windy.
Yeah. So if I ask you to repeat something, that's why.
Okay.
So the fat-free diet in the 90s was a really big deal. Everybody, there was a book, I don't even remember what it was called, Fat is Making You Fat or something like that, that came out, and it hit the bookshelves and everybody went on fat-free diets. And to this day, we still have fat-free yogurts and milks and all of that jazz. And the problem with that is our brains need fat. Our brains literally thrive on fat. That is what our brains work off of. So much so that if I have an anxiety attack, in the middle of it, if I take a tablespoon of coconut oil it will literally stop the anxiety attack within like 5 minutes. And 30 minutes later, I don't even feel like I had an anxiety attack. That's huge. That's huge. And that's how much my body needs fat when I'm having an anxiety attack. So you tell me, if you're going to go to work today and you're going to use your brain, or maybe you don't work, maybe you stay at home but you need to use your brain at some point today, would you like to have some fat that your brain can run off of? Or should you eat a breakfast that is out of a box, that's fat-free, with, cereal that has fat-free milk, so that way you can stay thin, which you're not going to, because fat has nothing to do with whether you stay thin or not. You're going to want some fat in your diet. And so it really annoys me, because so many people will say things like, that's fattening, or that has too much fat in it. It's one of those things where, as long as it's a good fat, as long as you're not deep frying something in hydrogenated oils, as long as it's a natural source of fat that God created, there is nothing wrong with it. And in fact, I would beg to say you need it. And I encourage most of my clients to try and include in a good serving of fat with every meal, because I've noticed that it really helps with not only people's brains and their ability to think and handle stress and anxiety, but also their infertility. And so adding in, like I said, just the coconut oil morning and an avocado at lunch, that can be huge for a woman who's struggling with infertility. Huge.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll bounce off your coconut oil. My kids eat coconut oil whenever I do my oil pulling, and we notice a difference drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Like entrance tantrums, thought processes, like you're saying, all the things. It's just amazing. So my kids ask for it, like all the things. And even in just doing my oil pulling, I noticed a difference. Mm-hmm. So whatever, just from it swishing it around my mouth, my body is not only pulling out toxins, but also absorbing the nutrients from it.
Yes.
Really, just the mind clarity and everything is very impressive. Energy levels, all of it. It's very impressive. So yeah, and then I was also going to add to what you were saying about eating food that is fat-free, like, and processed, is you're not only not going to lose weight, it's also processed, which is one of our biggest things that we would both agree on and recommend, is that processed food is the worst, because they're also so they're taking the fat out. What else are they taking out? Mm-hmm. Like, what nutrients is coming out with that? What process did it have to go through to get there? Like, all these things, and before you've destroyed it. That's all. That's the bottom line. You can't do that. We have to eat food in its natural form and state as much as possible.
Absolutely. And I was going to even say that I don't even know how they take the fat out of milk. I don't even know. And so this is what I'm saying. I have given the lecture that I just gave all of you. I've given that to many people. And at the end of it, I will say, and that's why I drink whole milk. And they'll go, you drink whole milk? Yes. So I'm adding that in there so that way you all understand what I'm saying. Eat the fat, drink the whole milk, drink the butter. Don't drink butter. That's just gross.
Oh, my daughter would.
Eat the butter that has the fat in it. There's nothing wrong with that. God made it that way, and he gave it to us to eat. Now, if you're lactose intolerant, if you have dairy issues, that's another completely different discussion that we can have in a totally different conversation.
Milk.
But if you what?
Oh, sorry. There's cashew milk, which is high in fats.
Yes, absolutely. And almond milk and all of that. Yeah, absolutely. But there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, if you're able to find good, clean, whole milk, there's nothing wrong with that. So, okay. So we talked a lot about, sorry.
Bounce off butter. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, to bounce off the butter too, just speaking of my daughter eating butter, they, as a kid, I don't know if anybody else did this, I ate butter out of the fridge, constantly got caught eating the stick of butter in the fridge. And now my kids do it. And you know what? I'll just grab it. I don't let them have the whole stick, because that gets disgusting after carried around with the dog hair. But I will just take it and cut them off a hunk, and they'll eat half a stick of butter, at least almost daily lately, especially. Yeah. And they're clearly, there's nothing wrong with butter. They're clearly craving it for a reason.
Yes.
And do it, Mm-hmm. So yeah.
My brother did that. My brother wanted to just eat butter. And so my dad was like, well, here you go, like hoping it would gross him out. And he just started eating it. My dad was like, that's disgusting. Stop it. And no, clearly he needed something in it. Clearly there was something wrong there. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next I'm going to bounce into calorie counting because that's kind of right on the heels of that. So the theory came as far as counting calories is that a calorie is a unit of measurement for how much of the food, like the unit of the food that gives us energy. And so a calorie, so many calories equals so much energy, supposedly, in our bodies, right? The problem with calorie counting is this is the most hysterical meme ever. I literally saw this yesterday that a banana has 80 calories and a shot of whiskey has 50. So choose wisely, right? Like, so obviously we see the problem there. As much as any of us would love to drink our meals, it's probably not very nutritionally stable to be drinking whiskey instead of bananas when bananas can offer us potassium and calcium and all these other amazing minerals in our food. And so many people are wrapped up in calorie counting and limiting their calories when they're eating things like bars, power bars, energy drinks, all of that stuff. Starbucks coffees, stuff like that. Or you'll see like gum and stuff that says like 0 calories, and it's like, okay, but why? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. This is something I never even understood. I mean, as a child, honestly, I can probably remember back to 10 years old. My mom did a diet, and like I remember the calorie counting thing, and or whatever exactly she did. But I remember it was a discussion, and I just remember going, "Why would we want to limit our energy?
Mm-hmm.
Like this literally makes no sense whatsoever."
So the theory behind that is that if you eat more calories than you're expelling, then that turns into fat and is stored in your body.
But everybody is tired and exhausted. So clearly not eating enough calories. Like, I just don't get it. Like, everybody goes on a diet to lose weight and get more energy.
Right.
It
Right.
makes no sense whatsoever.
I agree. It does not equate.
Round and round and round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't understand is if your body is craving an apple, give it a freaking apple. Like it really irritates me and bothers me when we get on these calorie counting concepts because you have people who are like, well, I've hit my 2000 for the day, but man, I could really just go for a stick of broccoli, and it's like, okay, then why the hell would you not give your body a stick of broccoli? Like, why is this a problem? If you're thirsty, are you going to give your body water? If you need to go to the bathroom, are you going to go to the bathroom? Clearly your body needs something and it's asking it for you for something and you're rejecting it. So that's a big problem, obviously. I think we can all see why that would be an issue. So if you're in a calorie counting diet, please stop. Like, there's just no sense behind that.
Yeah, well, I want to bounce off of something else too, for our moms that are nursing moms, pregnant moms who are listening. You said 2000, and that just reminded me when I had my son, my first baby, and I was nursing, and I was starving, and I'd go through my phases, where your milk supply goes up and down, and as a new mom, you're frustrated because all the information out there is crap, and all the things. And so that was one of the things I read was, oh, you need to eat 500 more calories a day in order to be fulfilled. So I tried that because you're desperate and I didn't know any better at the time. And like, that was the biggest bunch of crap I have ever done in my life. I was so hungry. By the end of it, I had figured out as a nursing mom, I was already eating over 4,000 calories, blah, blah, blah. Wow. And they only wanted me to eat 25.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That's insane.
This is horrible.
Yeah.
So, of course, obviously, just another step on the journey. You don't need to guess where that led me. But right
here.
It's just horrible. And this is what we're telling our moms who are starving, who, only 2% of, it should technically be only 2% of moms who can never produce breast milk, blah, blah, blah. But yet no one is producing breast milk. Everyone is losing their supply. because they're not eating enough because of this calorie counting crap.
Mhm.
You know, it's just it's horrible. So
Well,
yeah,
and we don't need to, I guess this is kind of a rabbit trail, but like it's because they're all trying to lose weight immediately after giving birth because we have this whole concept about weight. And I'm sorry, your body just grew a baby. Give it a few months, honey. It's going to be okay. And yeah, just like I get really upset about the whole body shaming thing for moms that just had babies. Like, no, it isn't a contest to see how much you can lose. And I'm sorry, if your husband hates you afterwards because you can't lose the weight, then you're probably better off without him. I'm just,
amen.
that's just how I feel about that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's not okay. You just gave him a baby. He can deal with a little bit of extra weight for a while.
Exactly.
Um, so then next we have sugar-free and carb-free concepts. So do you want me to start off with that one, or you can do that one too? Because I've kind of rambled a lot, so I'll let you go on that one.
So yeah, sugar-free and carb-free. Okay. I'll start with the sugar because that one really irritates me the most. Like, absolutely. And like some of the diets you'll see this in is like the juicing diet and stuff like that. It just, oh, it annoys me so much. But like, our bodies need sugar. God put sugar in fruits for a reason, and vegetables like sweet potatoes and, whatever else. Like, it's there, and obviously we need it. Now I can totally understand. I will put a disclaimer out there, like if you've been diagnosed with something like diabetes or something and you need to cut it out for a while to get yourself straightened out, I totally understand that. Totally agree with that. If that's your alternative versus medication, how severe your situation is, that I get. But for the average person to just be like, I'm not eating strawberries, no, no, especially for children. Children actually need sugar for brain development. Like that is, and newborns. That's why breast milk is so sweet. It's because of all the sugar they need.
Mhm.
Like, it's not refined sugar. So, and that's where your issue is when you get into refined sugars, processed sugars that want to act like sugar but don't do anything to your sugar, like, whatever, stevia, if it's not in the whole, like all those kinds of things. And so when you cut out sugar, you want to go back to energy, like you're cutting out your energy levels. Like sugar clearly gives us energy. And from a naturalist perspective, a daily, like a longevity, like a daily long um, burst of energy, not like a caffeine Starbucks where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm wired for 3 hours, and then you crash rock hard bottom. So, I mean, yes, I agree with sugar-free, as in processed sugar-free, like man-made, that has more chemicals in it than sugar even.
Well, and another really big thing too with the label sugar-free, usually it means that it has aspartame or Splenda in it. Usually they're not talking about like no sweetener. So usually sugar-free, the actual label, I'm doing air quotes for those of you who are listening, sugar-free is actually really bad for you. Like it would be better if they just used regular cane sugar because honestly, the chemicals that they're using today for sweetener are so bad for you that regular cane sugar is actually good for you because God created it. Again, it's still bad for you because it's refined compared to the strawberries and the blueberries and the bananas, but it's way better for you than aspartame or Splenda. So, yeah.
Yeah, to expand on that, what aspartame does is it messes with you neurologically. Like it will literally give you neurological problems. So,
It's also a leading cause of infertility as well.
oh yeah.
Hormones. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the thing with sugar free is like, yeah, I mean, don't eat the donuts, but eat some blueberries. Like that should be your breakfast. Bananas are awesome for breakfast, and that kind of thing. So, and then I think we'll talk about juicing in our next podcast too. There's a lot with that, and juicing with the fiber and the sugar and what's being taken out of that. But yeah, so carbs. So carbs are another frustrating one. It's all frustrating, but have you got that yet? No. So yeah, carbs are what people will count in like their bread and That would be a big one you'd see. Carb counting. Soda, people count it in their soda. I think there's like 25 carbs in a soda or something like that. And really there's carbs in vegetables too. There's carbs in everything we eat. It's the type of carbs you're eating. Again, like God put them there. They're good for us to eat. Like there's no reason to shy away from the food God gave us. No reason whatsoever. Like if you're going to do that, then we might as well just light a match now, because he's created everything. And this man-made stuff that we're trying to replace and mimic, that's the word I'm looking for, mimic his creation is not good. It's not perfect. It's not what our bodies need. It's fake, it's synthetic, it causes issues. And again, that's just what they're doing with carbs. And they've taken it to another level now where even, they have carb-free bread and like all this stuff, and it makes it even worse. And half the time they have to replace it with something else, again, worse, because you have to have something to get the chemical consistency or whatever it is they're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing too is, like you said, the difference between the carbs. So a complex carbohydrate comes with either fiber, fat, or protein. So when you have a carbohydrate that's in a vegetable, or like say an avocado, or in bread where there is fiber, there isn't as much wrong with it as a carbohydrate in a soda, because it's simple. There's no fat, protein, or fiber in a soda. And so what you want is, a carbohydrate is a sugar, and you want to be able to slow your digestion down, so that way as your digestion digests, it's released slowly into your body, and it gives you that long-lasting energy throughout the day. Whereas when you eat something that's a simple carb, it's a lot like, it's just like eating a spoonful of sugar. It just jolts through your body. And so it's a big deal to be eating the right carbohydrates and the right sugars, just like you were saying, and I think a better word for carb free is processed free. Like if you're like, because I know a lot of people who do really well carb free diets, and they're like, oh, well, I'm doing really well on this. So I think the biggest reason for that is that you're usually cutting out processed foods when you go carb free. And so to look at going processed free or gluten free, you're usually cutting out a lot of gluten when you do that. And so that might be why you're feeling better. And so it's not the carbs that you're cutting out, because you're probably eating sweet potatoes, you're probably eating broccoli, and so you're getting carbohydrates in there. It's not the carbs that you're cutting out that's making you feel better. It's probably either the gluten or the processed foods. So try looking into those if you're finding that you're really thriving on that kind of a diet and moving in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So again, just to wrap up, the biggest problems that Bridget and I both have with diets and in general is the diet mindset, is the lack of bio-individuality, to be able to say, well, this is what works for my body. And to look at the guy on TV and go, where he's going, what we need to be doing is no more garlic. I cut out garlic and I lost 500 pounds in a week. And that is what you all need to do. Or go on the garlic diet where that's all I ate for a week and I lost 500 pounds. So I'm so happy that worked for him. That is not going to work for anyone else on this planet. I can almost guarantee you. You cannot lose
but we won't go there.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, not to mention your immune system, but we'll just like another discussion.
Yes. So we need to get away from that concept of like, I found whenever somebody has lost weight, everybody's like, oh, what did you do? No, that's not the question. The question is, what works for your body? What does your body need to be eating? And if your body's asking for something specific, then give it to it. We need to step away from the diet mentality of we all need to be eating out of trays that have been sprayed goop into by the government, who says that this is what's good for you, and that's what this diet mentality is.
Yep.
All right. Check back with us in, I think it's not going to be the next episode, but the following episode, we're going to talk more about this. And more about specific individual diets. So we look forward to seeing you then. But next week, we're going to be talking with Hannah Fellows again as a guest speaker about crystals. So check back in with us on that. I'm so excited for that one.
Yeah.
All right. We will see you in a couple weeks and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on today's podcast.
If you'd like to know more about our programs or watch the podcast in video form, you can visit our websites,
where we also share links and resources concerning the different topics that we have discussed.
Check me out at www.nicolehegstead.com.
And check me out at www.bridgetmay.com. See you next time.